Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Up All Night and Are You Afraid of the Dark podcast. My name is Courtland, and with me is the dude that would probably trade me in for a shiny new bicycle, Brandon. How you doing, Brandon?
Not doing so great this week, actually.
Yeah, you sound like absolute shit again. Our pathetic human sciences have done you nothing.
I'm on week 12 of being sick now. This
harsh, like Jake and the Leprechaun all over again.
Harsh Australian winter is really taking it out of me.
I guess so.
Those 70-degree days are just too much.
It's too perfect out there in that luxurious private island.
My body is destroying itself.
So, are your kids okay? They're not sick, are they?
No, I'm the only one who's sick. They brought the sickness into this house, and I'm the one who's paid the price for the last 8 months.
Oh my god. You're like that guy from the Green Mile who just absorbs everybody's sickness, except you actually got sick out of it.
Yeah. You're welcome, everybody, for being the one to take your sickness.
To harbor all the bacteria and viruses. Oh, that sucks, man. That's terrible.
I mean, it's
Sorry
not
that
great.
You're sick still.
How are you?
Oh, I'm in perfect health.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah, not really though. I've been kind of tired because I've been staying late at work the past couple nights.
Oh,
so yeah, I'm tired, but that's okay. I can sleep when I'm dead. You know, you'll feel better when you're dead too. So
I can't wait.
Me neither, man. So I'm just gonna give a little warning here because listeners, if you guys aren't into video games, you should probably just skip ahead a couple minutes here, because E3 was this week, which was the big electronic gaming expo, which revealed just a bunch of new video games that are coming out in the year, this year and into next year. So if you want to skip that, just give us like 5 minutes. We don't talk to ourselves that much. So hey, Brandon, E3 was this week.
Yeah.
What excited you about E3? Because I only watched Nintendo's, so.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I need to watch that. You know what? I'm just not that into that setting, though. That's why I skipped it.
Are you into Keanu Reeves?
I wish I was more into Keanu Reeves, because I haven't seen any of the John Wick movies. Have you seen them?
The John Wick movies?
Yeah.
I've seen the first 2. Haven't seen the new one.
Oh, that's enough.
He shoots a bunch of people in the head. Like a lot.
Just a whole bunch?
Yeah, just headshot, headshot, headshot. That's the whole movie.
Yeah, I feel like me and my wife would like that movie, so maybe someday we'll watch it.
I mean, if you like headshots, yeah.
I'll watch that trailer later today, but was there anything else that piqued your interest?
I mean, there's going to be another Breath of the Wild game.
I know, isn't that going to be awesome? I love it. I thought for sure when it started showing it, I was like, oh wow, they're going to do another DLC for Breath of the Wild. That's cool. Because they just did the DLC for Borderlands 2, which was like unheard of, you know?
Yeah. And
I was like, sweet. More DLC. And then I was like, nope, a whole new game. And I was like, aw, damn.
Yeah, speaking of that Borderlands DLC, my wife and I beat it like half an hour after it was released. We like started it up and played through the whole thing.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Did it come, like, you have the Handsome collection, right?
Yeah.
Does it, like, automatically get downloaded onto it?
No, you've got to go onto the store and hit download.
Oh, my. I'll probably never play it then. Did you see, I mean, I don't know, it's not that interesting for you, but they finally brought the Secret of Mana 2 to the United States.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, it's been... You know, I knew that they had the Secret of Mana collection in Japan, and I was hoping it would get a release over in the West, but it didn't. And I think everybody forgot about it. And then Square Enix was just like, bam, available right now. And I was like, oh. Even though I've already beaten that game, but
yeah,
it was emulated, so I don't really count that.
It's official now.
I know. And then they're going to remake it anyway. Oh, it's so cool.
What do you think about the Final Fantasy VII remake?
You know what? I love Final Fantasy VII. I'm probably going to buy it on the Switch eventually. Probably play it with my son once he can read and everything. I don't really care about it. And I wish I cared more about it, but I don't.
Wow.
I know.
Why do you think that
It
is?
just- I just don't get excited about video games anymore. Like they excite. I get excited about them, but I try not to get excited about them until like they're almost out anyway. So
Yeah,
probably closer to when it comes out, I might have an interest in it. But right now, I just don't care about it.
fair enough.
It just
That's the way to
it
be,
just
really.
yeah. And are they still doing the episodic for it?
It seems
that
like
does
it.
not interest me. All right. Because all they've shown so far is Midgar, and that's the very beginning of the game. And I love that part of the game, but it's like I want to see how they're gonna do the field. I want to see like the Midgar, the giant snake. I want to see other stuff. But aside from that, the Animal Crossing stuff looked like fun. I know you don't care for Animal Crossing, but what else was there? Was there anything else that was worth mentioning?
I feel like there wasn't as many surprise reveals this year as there has been before.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I only watched Nintendo, so I was cool. I was happy with like the Breath of the Wild reveal. Oh, the Smash Brothers DLC characters were cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I don't know what else.
Then again,
I don't care about Halo.
We're at the end of the generation, so they're all saving their games for the next consoles. They're not going to announce anything new.
Oh, you know what else I need to look up is the Dying Light 2. I want to see the trailer for that.
That does look cool.
I still need to play the first one. I have a complete edition on my PS4, and I just haven't played it yet because I'm a loser. Gotta play that.
That's pathetic.
I know.
You disgust me.
Whatever. You're the one that's sick. You disgust me.
What are you talking about? I'm perfectly fine.
You need to go huff some Mystic Vapors or something. It's probably like code name for fucking Vicks Vapor Rub.
The Mystic Vapor Rub.
Do you want to get into this episode that we got going on today?
Yeah, I guess we could talk about that show.
All right. So we got. All right.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. So we just got done watching The Tale of the Prom Queen, which was the 12th episode of the first season. We only have one more fucking episode left,
Shit. Brandon.
Oh, I know.
Feels like we just started this.
I know. Even though when we got to Hungry Hounds, it was like in a time loop where it was all Hungry Hounds for fucking weeks and weeks. But
it's still Hungry
after we got over that Hungry Hounds hump, it was just a downward fucking sled ride in the winter until we got to the penultimate episode, The Tale of the Prom Queen. What'd you think about it altogether?
It was definitely an improvement over Hungry Hounds on the Hungry Hounds scale.
Yeah.
And gotta say, spoilers, but the plot twist I saw coming from the very beginning.
I did too, yeah. I'm sure the story's been told like a million times before, but which makes sense because I think they say that in the show a couple times. There's nothing new here, I guess, but it wasn't bad.
This is a very classic ghost story.
Yeah, and I didn't find it boring, and I think that's probably because of the acting. Well, okay, it was kind of boring, but I was entertained the whole time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Can that be?
It's an entertaining kind of boring.
Yeah, like nothing happens in this episode per se, but it wasn't a chore to watch.
You could shorten this episode down to like 3 scenes, I think.
You could. There's a lot of filler in this one. Oh, there's some stuff I loved about it, though. All right, you ready to dive into this?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Classic tale? Okay. So this episode immediately begins with a ghostly figure in white that's just incredibly slowly walking down the path of the forest to the Midnight Society hangout.
It looks like somebody wrapped in toilet paper.
Yes, it does. It does. Obviously, this is Kristen. I mean, who else could this fucking be? She's walking slower than Pam was from the Hungry Hounds.
That's just her thing. She just likes slow walking. She's like, it builds suspense.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't like the way she was talking through most of this episode, even though she dropped it for a little bit.
Yeah, I hated it. And we only had to listen to it for a little bit.
Yeah, these poor Midnight Society members. They had to sit through this shit the whole fucking... And you know what? They all looked like incredibly bored throughout this whole episode.
Oh, God, yes. I'll have to get a picture of
all
that.
of them did. Kristen's walking down this pathway with these loose white cloth draped over her. I'm thinking, shit, you better not get too close to that fucking campfire, because she will just blaze it up. She's basically wearing fucking tissue paper. If she got in contact with that fire, she would be burned alive.
That would be a funny prank.
Yeah, it'd be a goof. We then see David. He's flipping through a book that he's reading, and he bends the spine of the book completely all the way around, and I'm just like, ugh. I hate it when people do that to books.
Why?
I don't read that often, but when I read my books, like, I barely crack it open so that it never bends the spine, because I hate that.
I just never open books, because nothing can happen to them if they're just sitting on a shelf, perfectly closed.
Yeah.
Just keep them
never
pristine.
to be touched. Yeah, that's why I prefer hardback, because then I don't have to worry about fucking the spine. But anyway, Eric is sitting there eating a sandwich with just the most bored look on his face. And Kiki's in her overalls. She's tossing a ball up in the air and catching it. She's propped up on Betty Ann, who is balancing something on her nose, I guess. But when I was watching it, I thought she was just plucking out her eyelashes at
I thought the same thing.
That's what I didn't, until I seen that she dropped the fucking like pencil or whatever she was balancing on her nose. I was like, is she plucking her eyelashes? Why would you do that?
That sounds like a thing Betty Ann would do.
That sounds like a thing a serial killer would do. I think eyelashes take quite a while to grow back in. I don't know. I'm not an eyelash expert.
Really?
Yeah, believe it or not, yeah. So the figure in white just like I said, very slowly, just like in Hungry Hounds, makes her way down the path still. Her hands are outstretched like a zombie. She's not even near these people yet. She's just still walking down this pathway. She's like, I gotta fully commit to this shit. The second I get into the woods, I'm just gonna start fucking slow walking. How long on the off chance
it was before she started slow walking?
I think she started right away, just on the off chance that somebody's seen her. She's fully committed to this shit.
That's why she's so late. She's just like, okay, I got off my bike. I gotta start slow walking now.
Yeah, she already cycled for 45 minutes from the other province of Canada to get into Gary's backyard, so this is the most late I think anybody has ever been so far.
It's really hard to tell because they're always late all the time. And they always bitch about how people are late, but they don't do anything about it.
I know. Gary did not enforce that rule whatsoever.
No, he just talks.
He talks and then was late right after anyway, so he was like, well, can't be a hypocrite. Might as well just forget about it.
Yep.
Gary's in front of the fire with Frank, and Frank's gathering firewood, and then he asks if Kristen is there yet, and of course not, because she's just still walking really slow. And Eric asks Frank if he's surprised, considering the fact that she's always late. Kiki shit talks her, saying she's probably doing her makeup, and if her makeup isn't perfect, she stays home. Which...
No, she doesn't. She's been there every week.
Exactly. And even the week that there was a clown story, she wasn't like, oh, I gotta go, my makeup's not perfect. You know, she sat there and fucking trudged through the story. David's like, shut up, guys. She'll be here. She's got a great story.
How the fuck do you know, Dave? Her last story was the worst. So...
He just loves his Kristen. She's got perfect makeup. She always wears the Midnight Society diapers. And she hates clowns. So she's the perfect catch.
Shut up, guys. Kristen's perfect. She can't do anything wrong.
Except for tell stories.
Yes. The thing that this entire club is based around. She can't do it all. But yeah, she's great.
Gary starts talking about how they have rules. And if she's always gonna... And then the kids turn and they look at a wispy figure in white and they all freak the fuck out. Eric spits out his sandwich. Kiki fucking knocks the shit out of Betty Ann to get away. And they all gather together to fight this ghostly creature. Did you see Kiki knock Betty Ann over though? Like,
no,
she didn't get toppled over, but she just like fucking
jump kicked her.
Yeah, she like
kicks her into the fire,
shoulder slams her so that she can get out from this ghost, and Betty Ann's like, "Whoa!" You know, like,
yeah. Betty Ann's burning alive in the fire, and she's like, well, at least I didn't get killed by that toilet paper monster. Did they all really think it was a ghost?
I don't know. This is like the scariest thing that happened in this whole episode. So
it's true.
Who knows? Who else would it be? You guys are sitting there bitching about Kristen not being there. Kristen always fucking walks slowly and brings props to her stories.
Yeah.
You know it's a Kristen story. You should know what to expect.
And they're always playing pranks on each other and stuff.
Yeah, this is exactly the same thing that Kristen told in her last story, because Amy was dressed up like the same ghost. Also, that's not a prom dress. That's like a fucking wedding dress.
Yeah.
It's got a veil and everything. Nobody wears a veil to their prom.
Look, she went up to her attic and found some dusty old clothes, and that's all she could find.
All right.
She didn't know the combination to her aunt's treasure chest.
She didn't have a Ouija board or somebody to play it with. So the gang asks who it is, and Kristen tells them she's there to tell them a story, which she says, I'm pretty sure, quite slowly. The kids all sigh in relief. Oh, this is this part. Betty Ann walks up to Kristen, saying, "Excellent, Chris," and she goes for a high five. But Kristen just stares at her for a few seconds, leaving her hanging. And Betty Ann just walks away really disappointed. And it was really... I don't want to say it was cringy, but, like, I felt so bad for Betty Ann. Kristen, why did she do that?
Nobody likes Betty Ann, except us. She's the Midnight Society outcast. Her stories are gross and have happy endings, and everyone hates her.
She seems to me like the most likable Midnight Society member. Like, I would want to be her friend out of all of these.
Well,
I guess Gary.
She's
too.
like the most not actively terrible.
Yeah, you're right. Kristen says it's time to begin my tale as Eric asks her what's with the getup, and he's pulling on it. And Kristen breaks her character for a second and tells Eric to sit the fuck down. I'm doing this shit for effect. And he says sorry, and he goes and sits down. Kristen tells us her tale is one of woe, and it's been told around many campfires. So she stole this one. Got it.
Yeah.
She continues saying, I'm here to tell the one true version.
Ew.
Man, that's
pretty
some bullshit.
egotistical of you.
Yeah, right. It cuts over to Gary, who looks bored as fuck. David and Betty Ann look slightly intrigued, but not really. And Kristen says she's going to need some help with the monkey bone powder. But Gary's got her back. He throws the powder into the fire as she lets everyone know her story's called The Tale of the Prom Queen. I do have to say, I think it's funny because Kristen stands this whole episode, and her getup is incredibly flame hazardous. So
we gotta mention again that she's doing a voice while telling the story, where she's like, the tale of the prom queen.
Yeah, she's very quiet. It's almost like a Peter-ish voice.
Yeah.
I hated it. I just get on with it, you know. These episodes are only like 24 minutes, and we just spent like 3 of them, and all it was for her to tell us this fucking tale of the prom queen.
Yeah, you don't have to do everything slowly, Kristen.
Maybe she's just like slow in general.
I mean, maybe.
The story begins by showing us a gate, which leads into a cemetery. The camera pans over some headstones, and then we're shown a girl. Kristen says that she stood over the grave holding a bouquet of wildflowers, as if taking a moment for silent prayer. And the girl in the story tosses down this dried bundle of ugly-ass flowers. Well, let's take a moment to just, like, describe her. The girl in the story, she's got a ponytail.
They all have ponytails.
Brown hair. I like ponytails.
all the girls in this show kind of look the same. They wear ponytails, and they have button-up shirts and plain pants. Other than characters like Beth
and Danny were pretty different. Well, Danny had a ponytail too, though. Amy was Kimmy Gibbler.
Like, our protagonists are all very plain.
Yeah, you're right. But anyway, so this girl, she's got like auburn hair, or brown hair. I don't know. Is there a difference between those colors?
I don't know.
Auburn's probably lighter. She's got brown hair. It's in a ponytail with a vertical striped blue button-up shirt. It's tucked into her jeans. And she hears some sort of like laughing in this cemetery. So she's looking around to see who's laughing at her. She's clearly uncomfortable because who the hell fucking laughs in a cemetery, which is just like the most rude thing. People are dead in there. She gets up and she walks away from the grave. She's looking around for the source of the rude laughter, and the camera continues panning over gravestones, and then more gravestones, and we go back to the girl who's still hearing the laughing, and then we get to see fucking more gravestones, and I'm just like, why are there so many gravestones everywhere? This graveyard is gigantic, and they just keep showing us every little fucking square inch of this place. Over and over again. Gravestones, the girl. Gravestones, the girl. I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
She might as well stop and read each one out loud to the audience.
None of these gravestones had any writing on them, though.
Do you think they were prop gravestones?
Yeah, I think they were. There was just so many. They were so densely packed, and I just don't think that graveyards are that way. You got to give people some fucking room.
No, just stack them on top of each other.
I mean, that would be like the most economical way, but
it's efficient.
Yeah, we're not very efficient. Are graveyards in Australia the same as they are in America?
From the couple I've seen, yeah, I guess. There's dead people, I suppose there's gravestones.
Do they have like mausoleums and stuff too?
Yeah.
Okay, well that was a lot less interesting than I was expecting, I guess.
I haven't been to many Australian graveyards.
Oh.
That might surprise you to
know. No.
I don't know any Australian dead people.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't. You've only been there for a couple years. You know, when I first learned how to ride my bicycle, my dad took me to a graveyard. I don't know why.
It's the best place to go. It's every kid's favorite.
I remember thinking, like, holy shit, what if fucking people come up out of these graves? They didn't, though. Like, darn, you know.
I mean, your fascination with zombies came from somewhere.
Yeah, you know what, though? I told you back in, like, Nightly Neighbors, I think, that I didn't really know what zombies were until Resident Evil, but I learned how to ride my bike when I was probably, like, 6 or 7, I think, maybe. And I thought about fucking corpses coming out of the ground then, so I'm not really sure when I learned about zombies. I'm just one lie after the next, Brandon. I can't believe you put up with me.
I can't trust a single thing you say.
Oh, well. We make it work.
Somehow.
So finally, the girl rounds a gravestone, and she's just ambushed by a flock of birds, which scared the hell out of her. That's just one of a lot of jump scares that this episode has. That's all this episode does for scary stuff.
It doesn't really try to be scary. So, yeah.
It just does jump scares.
Faking you out is the only thing it can do.
But those birds, man, they were fucking... It's just a flock of birds that just ripped through
Can't
the fucking
imagine
cemetery.
Jump scares really work very well in a campfire setting.
Right, because Chris is just like, and then the birds came from behind the graveyard. And it scared her. So she continues walking. She touches some crusty-looking old flowers at a gravestone. And then some dude jumps out in front of her screaming, which, of course, scares her some more. So she screams and starts to run away, but there's another guy behind her, and he tells her to chill out, that they aren't ghosts. You shouldn't do this to people. Yeah, I would immediately, in this day and age, think that they were out to fucking steal this girl.
I feel like this has happened in a few episodes where people just jump out in front of each other people and go, whoa!
I think that in previous episodes that the people knew each other, though. These guys don't know this girl. They just fucked with her in a cemetery.
In just the last episode, Andy was riding his bike, and the bully guy just jumped out and was like, whoa! It knocked him off his bike.
Oh, the guy that screams at her gets a close-up, and immediately I don't like that guy very much.
No.
He just looks like a douchebag.
He has a real look to him. My first thought was that he looks like Heath Ledger's Joker, but without the makeup.
Yeah, I was thinking that. That's a good one.
And then my second
I was thinking maybe James Franco.
Oh, I could see that as well. Evil James Franco.
Yeah.
That afterwards, I thought he looked like Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars Episode 3
Yes.
specifically.
I think that's it. I think that's what I was thinking, but I just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, and he's got the same kind of creepy, just like everything he's saying, you're thinking, is this guy evil?
Yeah.
I think he's evil.
I think you are totally right. Let's go with that one. I like that.
Okay.
He looks like Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars Episode 3. So after the one guy says that they aren't ghosts, the other guy that had screamed at this girl says,
Then again, maybe we are. Ever seen Night of the Living Dead?
and he said that just in a very douchey way.
Yeah, it's the second Night of the Living Dead reference.
I know, right? In one season. I can't wait for more. He giggles about it, and his buddy tells him to back off, calling him Jam. So this Anakin Skywalker looking motherfucker, his name is Jam.
Yeah, that's not a good name.
It's not. It's just... Add that one to the list, Brandon. We got a fucking ongoing list.
All right, that's going on the shit name list. You know, yes. I had a hard time hearing what his name actually was, and in my notes, I thought his name was Champ, and I wrote Champ in all the notes, and then at the end, I was like, oh, it's Jam, and I had to go back and edit all my notes.
That's okay. That happened to me with Goth because I thought they said Garth at first. And it took probably about halfway through the episode. And when I'm reading my notes for the episode when we recorded, I called him Garth like twice, I think. And I have no idea how to re-edit that to put Goth in there without it sounding like, and then the guy, his name is Goth. Was you know?
Yeah.
So I just left it. The girl yells at them saying, oh, you always hanging around in graveyards scaring people? And Jam says,
hey, we're just having a goof.
We need a goof counter for this episode because he says it like 30 times.
Everything is just like, just stop. We were just having a goof.
We were just goofing. Just goofing around. It's just goofs.
Goofing?
We're just goofing, eh?
Guys, don't take it seriously. We're just goofing.
God, sorry, I was just goofing.
This is so funny. Just having a good old goof.
Just goof. Report to the goof troop.
Shoot-a-bop-ba-da-doo-wop.
Yeah.
The other guy introduces himself. He's Greg, douchebag's Jam. They didn't mean to scare her, even though Jam clearly did mean to, considering he jumped out at her and screamed in her face.
Yeah, that was his entire thing.
But you know what? I said that, and then Jam immediately says, well, yeah, we did. We meant to scare you. But there was no harm done. I was like, all right, good on you, Jam. Then he asks her what her name is, and it's Dee Dee.
Yeah, Dee Dee.
Yeah, Dee Dee.
It's better than
Day
Day
like
Day.
The mom from Rugrats. Yeah, it's much better than Day Day. At least it's an actual name, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know any Dee Dees in my real life, but there are Dee Dees out there. There are no Day Days.
There's not a single one.
The last Day Day that was fucking conceived got eaten by a vampire, so there are no Day Days. Greg asks her what she's doing in a graveyard by herself, and Dee Dee tells the guys she was putting flowers on a grave. Jam says, yeah, or maybe you were looking for ghosts like us.
Who goes out looking for ghosts in the daytime?
Fucking losers. Dee Dee starts walking away from these losers and says, oh, what, you can't wait for Halloween? And Jam and Greg just start following her like creepers. And Jam says, forget Halloween, Saturday's prom night, the night of the prom queen. And Dee Dee stops all dramatically. She turns to look at the guys. She seems a bit interested, saying, prom queen? But then continues to walk away as Jam says, you haven't heard the story of the prom queen? And Dee Dee's like, no. And then at this point, it seems like she's picked up her pace to get away from these like potential fucking serial rapists. That's what I got out of this whole situation.
They're creepy.
They are creepy as fuck. I don't like it. This stuff would not happen. Well, it does happen today, but it shouldn't. It's like two dudes cornering a fucking girl in a place where there's no witnesses. It's just not a good. It's not a good thing. So they ask if she lives around here, and she tells them no. She used to, but she's just visiting. Greg starts to tell the story about the prom queen, but douchebag Jam says, "Shut up, Greg. I tell it bestest." He catches up with Dee Dee and pretty much forces her to listen to him as he's telling the story. He starts it out saying it happened a long time ago on prom night. A girl was waiting here by the gates for her date to pick her up. She was all set to go, wearing a prom dress and everything, which of course she was. It's fucking prom night. But Jam sits down at this point to continue his story, saying that it was a foggy night. He says it's the kind where you can't see cars coming until it's too late. So there she was, waiting in the fog, when a car came ripping around the corner. Some say the guy was bombed because he took the turn too wide. By bombed, do you think he means drunk?
Yeah, that was my takeaway.
Okay, that's what I thought too. The guy in the car bounced over the curb and hit her. Smack! And he screams, and Dee Dee has a mini heart attack. And then James says the guy then just drove off, not even realizing what he'd done, which seems incredibly unlikely. I think you would know it if you hit somebody in your car, even if you were drunk.
It depends on how bombed you are.
Bombed. I've never heard anybody call it that before.
Maybe it's a Canadian thing.
It's probably like a fucking children's show thing. Jam says that they found her the next morning and buried her a couple days later in her prom dress, which seems incredibly disrespectful considering she just got plowed over by a car with this thing on, so it's probably all ripped up and bloody and gross.
Yeah, covered in guts and
brain matter and shit.
Yeah, they just toss her in a casket and dump her in the ground.
Dee Dee says that's awful, which it is. Jam says that's not the best part, though, and Dee Dee's like, this disturbing and tragic homicide story gets better? And Jam's like, oh yeah. Every prom night, the ghost of this girl comes back, and people have seen her by the gates, still waiting for the ride that never comes. And I'm like, prom night's not the same night every year, though. There would be a bit of a discrepancy, I would feel.
Yeah, probably.
So how would the ghost even know? Also, what happens if the school closes down and there is no more prom?
Well, it's probably just on the anniversary of when she died, whenever it is, even if prom isn't going on.
Okay, I like that better, yeah. They should have just said that.
Yeah.
Greg says that we're going to see if it's true. He says that they were kind of looking for the girl's grave, but that's a little juvenile, huh? And Dee Dee says, no, I think it sounds kind of cool. Jam asks her if she wants to help, and Dee Dee looks over at Greg, who smiles at her, but she doesn't answer just yet. Jam says, come on, Greg thinks you're a babe. And Greg's like, shut the fuck up, Jam. But Dee Dee agrees. Jam says, excellent.
Let's go ghost hunting, boys and ghouls.
He's so funny. Hey there, everybody. Courtland here, your best buddy and your prom king. Thank you so much for taking a listen to our 12th episode, and honestly, really just our podcast in general. We're closing in on our first 1,000 downloads, and Brandon and I are so excited. To celebrate this milestone, as well as the completion of our first season, we're giving away the first season of Are You Afraid of the Dark on DVD. The giveaway link will be in the episode description, and the directions to enter in couldn't be simpler. There's just a little less than 2 weeks left until we release our Season 1 wrap-up episode and announce the winner, so enter in while you can. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to follow us on Instagram at PrivateIsland Presents and Twitter at PRVTIsland. There we post every single day with pictures of the current week's episode, entertaining gifts from the episode, or any updates like the giveaway we're doing. If you're feeling chatty, hit us up on those social media platforms or send us an email. That's privateislandpresents@gmail.com. We would love to read your emails. Let us know what your favorite episode is. As always, I'd like to thank All Hail the Badger for his work on the music for the podcast, and to Brandon for the artwork. Thank you again for taking the time to listen to us chat about Are You Afraid of the Dark, and I hope you stop back next week for our 13th episode and the conclusion of the first season. Talk to you guys in a week. Bye.
Dee Dee seems to go along with all this stuff pretty quickly. She's just there, like, paying her respects to the dead, like, oh, here's some flowers, be in peace. And then she's like, oh, let's dig up some dead bodies and dance with them.
Yeah, considering she's just visiting. She doesn't live in this town anymore. She probably doesn't have that much time left in the town, but she's just like, I'm going to spend it with these two dudes I don't even know.
Yeah, they
hunting for ghosts.
Kick over some gravestones and hunt monsters.
Yeah.
Do it!
And it's like, this is prom for these guys, and they're going to spend it not at prom. They're just social outcasts.
Nobody was going to go to prom with Jam.
Yeah, but Greg, he's a good-looking dude. Somebody would go to prom with him. The scene shifts to some sort of ice cream social truck, and an old man with a giant beard is probably ordering like an egg cream or something from a soda jerk.
It's a very odd shift.
Yeah, I feel like this whole episode kind of has like an oldish vibe to it. Nobody orders fucking egg creams. It's disgusting. The gang's all sitting at a table, and they're trying to make themselves feel better because they didn't find the grave. They just have to eat away their disappointment in ice cream.
It's probably hard to find the grave with, like, no names or anything written on them. The prop
That's true.
graves.
They don't even know the name of this girl yet.
Yes.
They are going in blind. They're like, and this, like we said earlier, this graveyard was just packed with fucking gravestones all over the fucking place.
Stuffed with corpses.
It's like a fucking double stuffed Oreo, except it's fucking corpses. Jam asks Greg if he's going to finish his ice cream, but then he grabs it anyway, and he's about to start drinking out of the fucking straw, and it's just gross. But we cut over to Greg's face, and he says he just wants to know if there was a car accident at all, and that he doesn't want this to be a waste of time. Jam offers up Greg's ice cream to Dee Dee, and thankfully he took the straw out, but he still fucking chugs the rest of the ice cream. And I'm like, man, there's probably so much Greg spit in that shit. Ugh. Dee Dee says that they should go to the police because they must have a record of the accident. Jam mocks Dee Dee saying, oh, we're ghost hunters, officers. Can we see your files for the last 100 years? Dee Dee and Greg laugh about it.
Yeah, he shits on that idea, but I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, you could just be like, I'm doing a report for school.
Yeah, you don't need to be like, hey, we're a bunch of fucking weirdos who want to find this girl's dead body. You just be like, hey, let me see some accident reports. But he's like, you're fucking stupid. That idea is stupid. Now let the big boys talk.
Yeah, you could be like, I'm interested in cold cases. Because according to this kid, somebody hit this girl and nobody knew who it was or anything. So he just got away squeaky clean. And so you could just be like, I'm interested in cold cases. Can you tell me more about this case?
Yeah. What do you think Nancy Drew does? She walks into that police station. She says, all right, boys, give me 1956 murder. Big bang, boom. Right. They're like, yes, Miss Drew.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, so Greg says that we can look through some newspapers, and Dee Dee's like, newspapers? As if she's never heard of them before. And Greg's like, yeah, if it happened, it'll be in an obituary or something. The kids agree it's a good idea, and they get up to go find that info. At this point, we get a voiceover from Kristen saying that they went to the town library to scan old newspapers on microfilm. They started in 1950 and moved forward looking for all traces of a girl dying in a car accident. And then they found it in 1956. So I'm like, well, at least they didn't have to look for that long.
Yeah.
So they're scrolling through all of these newspaper headlines, and they stop on one with a headline that says a girl was killed in a hit and run on prom night. And Dee Dee says, this is so cool. I've never seen one of these. And then Jam stops it, and he's like, no, that's it. I found it. Greg looks over at Jam, and he says, it happened just like you said. Fog and all. And he just says it in a really weird way. Like, he just really wants to fuck Jam. Like, he really admires Jam.
There's gotta be some reason he's hanging out with him, because they don't really seem like they'd be friends.
No, it seems like they hate each other. But just like almost every other episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Every relationship in the show,
somebody's got to be a douchebag friend.
DBF.
The kids continue reading the newspaper article as we as the audience are shown a doorknob that slowly begins to turn. And the kids find out that the local girl's accident happened on May 7th, 1956, and her name was Judy Larson. The door at this point opens up completely, and someone very slowly walks in, as Greg continues saying that her boyfriend, Ricky Mitchell, was supposed to pick her up, but he never got the message. And I'm like, damn, this newspaper is just throwing some shade at poor Ricky. At this point, I was like, do you think he agreed to get dunked on for this article? Like, this girl's dead, and basically it's all this boyfriend's fault, because if he would have picked her up, she wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
Like, this newspaper article is just like, poor girl is dead, and it's all her fucking boyfriend's fault, who didn't even know to pick her up.
Teenage girl dead.
Terrible.
Asshole boyfriend to blame.
Exactly. But I guess he didn't agree to this, because after he heard about Judy's death, Ricky drove his car, a 1955 Chevy, as they point out, off a bridge, and he killed himself.
Yeah. Cheery.
Yeah, right? Dee Dee's just real into this story, by the way. She's making gasps and stuff, and she's like, he died too? All the while, whoever is in this room with these kids is just walking around. We're only showing their shadow. And Greg continues saying it was an accident, and they never found him or the car, which is weird to me. They would get that car out of that fucking river. Yeah, it's not that hard.
You can't just have a car chilling at the bottom of a river that probably isn't even that deep.
It can't be. It's just a small little river.
It's really more of a creek.
Jam says, excellent, 2 gruesome deaths for the price of... But then he's cut off because that figure in the room with them knocks into something, and it makes a noise, and Greg's like, what was that? And after a little more banter by the kids, the figure finally makes its way up to them. It turns on a light, and it turns out it was just an old lady the whole time.
Oh boy, jump scare number 2.
Yep. She offers the kids up some tea, and the noises were just the plates and the teacups tinkling together. And it's like, whew, they're safe.
I thought this old lady was going to be a player in this story.
No, not at all.
Like, they'd be like, oh, God, we were just looking up this death of this girl. And she'd be like, oh, I went to school with that girl.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
But
there's
no,
nothing,
she's just some old lady offering them the tea. Next.
Yes. And also, this old lady smiles at these kids for entirely too long. The camera just sits on her face for like 3 seconds.
Yes, a Kristen trademark. Everything happens too long.
Always. And it's like, I can understand it if this lady had something to do with the story, but she doesn't.
No.
She has nothing to do with the story at all. Jam makes fun of Greg about the whole ordeal, and it's in a friendly way, so I'm starting to think that Jam's not that much of a douchebag. I mean, he still is, but he's not as bad as I thought. Jam makes the great point to these two that if they're getting this scared over an old lady, how are they going to react when they see a real ghost? And Greg says that shit's getting old, but Dee Dee's like, no way, it's just getting real good, you know? Let's help Judy out. The guys are like, what? How? And she says, well, every prom night Judy waits for her ride who never comes, right? We just read that Ricky never picked her up because he didn't know that he was supposed to. Jam butts in to give this lame I Love Lucy joke, saying,
Rudy, I'm here. Where's little Ricky?
Shut up, Jam.
It was the worst.
Yeah, he sucks.
Greg tells Jam to shut it and asks Dee Dee what they should do, and she says we should try and contact Ricky's spirit and tell him to pick Judy up. Jam's totally into it, saying, yeah, like a seance. This is getting better all the time. And Greg says, okay, we're taking this a little too far, guys. There's no such thing as ghosts. Even though he was totally into this at the beginning of the episode, but
yeah,
whatever.
They make all these plans for something that nothing is going to happen. There's no such thing as ghosts. So they're like making all these plans pointlessly to reunite this ghost with her boyfriend. What do they think is going to happen?
I don't like this whole like idea of, oh, I'm super into this thing, and then once they're pressed a little bit further, it's like, I don't want anything to do with that. There's no such thing as ghosts.
Yeah, ghosts are stupid.
We've talked about this before. It's like the twist of the character. It happens a lot more than it should.
Happens most episodes.
Mm-hmm. So Greg's like, there's no such thing as ghosts, but they ignore him, and Jam says his parents go to the movies on Fridays, and they can use his house. And Dee Dee says, no, there's only one place to have a seance. Jam's like, where'd at? And she says, oh, come back here tonight and I'll show you. And then Jam touches her on her shoulders in a really creepy way, and he says in a weird voice, "Oh, a mystery. Who knows what'll happen when the lights go down?"
Shut up, Jam.
I hate him. He taps Greg on the shoulder. They walk away, but Greg comes back to talk to Dee Dee and asks her if she actually believes in this shit. And she says, "I don't know. It's kind of fun. What do you say?" And Greg then tells her that she's a strange person, but he likes that. She says, "Key." She gets up, and Greg's like, "Key?" And,
she says,
I don't
Keen.
understand it. Keen. Like Commander Keen?
Yeah. Like Peachy Keen.
Ah, yes. Okay. That makes a lot of sense then. Okay.
Yes.
The scene shifts, and we're looking at a bridge. Dee Dee says that's where Ricky went over. And Greg's like, "But they never found the car? Yuck." Jam says, "Psych. Let's go to the marina." And Greg asks why they can't do it right here. But Dee Dee says it's because this isn't where it happens. We have to go under the bridge and do a seance. And that's what they do. The scene shifts to complete night with a full moon and everything. The kids are all in a boat somehow.
Yeah, where the hell did they get that boat?
I don't know. Nobody would let these kids have a... They're only like 16 anyway, so why would they...
Oh, we're having an impromptu seance in the middle of the creek.
Like, who rents out boats for this tiny fucking river? Do these kids have the boat to begin with? Did they steal it? Nobody would let them rent the boat out at night. Didn't make any sense. But they got a boat. They got the motor started, and they're going out to the bridge so that they can have this seance. Jam asks if they need a medium, but Dee Dee's like, "No, we just gotta believe real hard."
She's the master of seances.
She is.
The girl who was like, "What, you can't wait for Halloween?" And she's like, "All right, now I'm running the seance. I'm summoning Satan."
The kids all hold hands as Greg says, "I can't believe we're doing this." But Dee Dee coaches them, saying, "Shut up, clear your minds, and try to think only of Ricky." She's like, "Think of his picture in the newspaper. Think about what happened to him that night, and try to think about his 1955 Chevy. You can see it driving on the bridge, that he's pissed about Judy dying." And Jam tries to interrupt her, telling her she's pretty good at this, and Dee Dee's just like shushes him and tells him shut up and concentrate. She's like, "Imagine Ricky driving too fast. He turns on the bridge and the car swerves and skids. It crashes through the railing and it falls into the river. Now picture the car sitting at the bottom of the river for years, and Ricky's inside, and he's fucking gross and decrepit." And at this point, the fog on the river is getting a bit heavier, and then some bubbling starts to happen behind the kids. And Greg hears the bubbling and is like, "What the fuck is that?" But Dee Dee tells him to close his damn eyes and just fucking concentrate. She says, "Keep picturing that car sitting underwater." And then she asks the spirit of Ricky Mitchell if he can hear us, and the bubbles behind him start up again. And Jam's like, "What the fuck?" And they write it off as some bubbles from fish.
Yeah.
But Dee Dee continues saying, if you can hear us, Ricky, we've got a message for you. On the night of the accident, you were supposed to pick up Judy. She's still waiting for you. She wants you to pick her up." Greg says that this is getting stupid, and the bubbles behind them just start going cuckoo bananas, just crazy, and the kids freak the fuck out. They grab the anchor, they lift it up, and they start up the engine, but they can't seem to get it going. So Greg grabs the oars, and he starts paddling to shore, and the bubbles are just chasing these kids. And I just had to laugh because Greg's the only one that's paddling. And Jam is just screaming at him like, "Do it! Come on, do it! Paddle more!" It's like, Jam, you could be helping.
It's like in Phantom Cab when Denny is just yelling at Buzz to answer the riddles, and he's like choking him, and he's like, "Come on!"
I wish that Greg would have started choking Jam right now, but he doesn't.
He deserves a little bit of a choking.
He does. They make it to shore, and all the kids just dive out of that boat. The bubbles come up close to shore, but then they just stop. And Jam asks what happened, and Greg's like, "I don't know. Maybe it ran out of gas." Jam's like, "That wasn't what we thought it was it?" And Greg says, "No, it couldn't be," even though he just made the joke about the car running out of gas.
If they didn't want to see dead people, what the hell are they doing there? Why are they doing this?
I mean, they probably didn't expect a car to chase them underwater. I don't know. What would those bubbles have even done? It's not like the car would, like, float up to the surface. I mean, unless it does. It is ghost rules.
I don't know. The bubbles could pop on them. That would be startling.
Maybe it'll like shake their canoe a little. Greg says it's probably like a leaky water main or just like natural gas bubbles or whatever. And Jam says, or a ghost taking an evening spin. Greg's like, no, I don't know what it was, but it was no ghost because ghosts aren't real. Then what are you doing?
I don't know. Why are you friends with Jam? That's all Jam seems to care about is death and ghosts and murder.
Potentially. Jam says, well, there's only one way to find out for sure. Tomorrow night, the graveyard, prom night. Be there if you dare. Greg collapses, and we cut over to a commercial break, I guess. And then when we get back, it's our Midnight Society interlude, where Kristen is just still standing because she's in a fire hazard of an outfit, and she grabs the corsage from her wrist, and she tosses it into the fire for some reason. We look at David and Betty Ann, and they look
they are so bored. They are hating this story. Yes. They're like, this is worse than Hungry Hounds.
They are basically sleeping using their like palm and elbow to support the weight of their head. Betty Ann says, brave kids, and Frank corrects her by saying that they're stupid but brave. Is it really brave if you didn't know what was going to happen before you did it?
No.
Because they didn't know that they were going to get chased by an underwater 1955 Chevy.
I mean, Greg didn't expect anything to happen at all, so as soon as something did, he was like, oh, let's get the fuck out of here.
Let's correct Frank then. They're just stupid. Kristen slowly tells us that the next day, the kids checked the graveyard records and found the name Judy Larson. Gary says the grave they've been looking for, and Kristen agrees. She points to the sky with her hand, and it transitions back into the story. We're shown Judy's grave. She was born in 1939, died in 1956, and Jam says, there she is. They wonder if they should stay in front of the gravestone to see the ghost, or that they should move, which, no, they should just go to the corner where she was allegedly hit by a car. And Dee Dee says that they should split up, but Greg's like, no way, we're staying together. And he just wants to get in good with Dee Dee, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He obviously has, like, this crush on her, which is kind of cute. Jam says, let's wait over there. We can see the road to the gate and the gravestone. So the kids walk over there, and Greg stops Dee Dee, saying, you really don't believe in this stuff, do you?
For the second time. They already had this conversation. Yeah. She thinks it's kind of fun. Get over it.
He says, you're just doing it for a goof, right?
You're just goofing. We're all just having a goof.
She says, I don't know. Let's see what happens. The night goes on, and the kids are just wasting their damn prom night in this stupid cemetery. Greg is asking if the legend says when she comes out, because it's getting cold, and Jam tells him that it's always midnight. And I don't know if he means that as in like just this instance, or if it's like, you know, well, every ghost story, it happens at midnight. Like, come on, why'd you even ask?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm surprised Kristen didn't stop the story to be like, why is it always midnight?
Asking herself that as she's telling her own story. The kids just kind of sit there for a little longer, and Greg asks if they feel as stupid as he does, and they don't answer, but they start to hear some, like, tinkling noises coming from somewhere. I said kind of like jewelry tinkling together, but it's a wind chime. It's probably that old woman from the fucking library about to drop some bomb-ass tea on these kids, though.
You want some tea? We told you no!
She's just following them. She was, like, on the shore, the other side of the shore. With
she was under the water with a little scuba tank, and that was the bubbles.
We told you, old woman, we don't want your tea! We're showing, like, a person in just this white raincoat-looking thing. Holding a wind chime for some reason. They're like draped in like fucking a cotton raincoat. It's really stupid looking.
It's just some person in a white hoodie jiggling a wind chime.
It looks like garbage. Jam's like, it's her! It's totally her! And Greg starts to walk towards the figure, saying he's got to know who that is. And obviously it's not the prom queen ghost, because it's not even wearing a prom dress. But he goes up and checks out who it is. Jam tries to stop him, But Greg did, he just goes to check it out anyway, since he doesn't even believe in ghosts. Greg follows the figure, who stops for a moment and then continues walking. So he reaches out and he grabs its shoulder, and it turns around, and then it says, "Boo." And it's just this dude under a raincoat looking thing, and fucking Greg asks who it is, and he says, "Jam made me do it." And Greg is pretty upset at Jam now, and Jam comes up laughing, and he says, "I thought that you were going to have a cow." And Greg threatens to hurt him.
Yeah, Jam here is like, "Oh, I totally got you, man." But no, he didn't. His prank completely failed because Greg didn't buy that it was a ghost for a second. He was like, "All right, what the fuck's going on here? What Scooby-Doo bullshit is this?"
He thought it was a person, and it was a person.
Yeah, so like, you did that for no reason, Jam. You're an idiot.
Yeah, so he like winds up and he's about to punch the shit out of Jam, but he like avoids it, and then he moves up to the dude in white, and it turns out that it's his cousin Chuck. He introduces him to Dee Dee and Greg, and Jam shows Greg and Dee Dee how his cousin is decked out in just like this flashlights on his head and a hat looking thing, and he's got a flashlight on the wind chimes, and it's really stupid. Greg's still pissed off about this whole thing, so he tells Jam that he's going to kill him. And Jam's like, "Come on, just relax. It was just a goof." Everything's just a goof.
It's just goofing.
It's just goofing, guys.
Just goofing around.
My absolute favorite part of the episode. It's just a goof, guys. Just goofing.
Oh, it's just a goof, bro.
Oh, there aren't any real ghosts. Dee Dee protests by saying, "What about last night?" And Jam tells her, "Yeah, right. You really think that was a ghost car in the water?" He lifts his finger to his lips, and he says,
"Hello, anybody up there?"
Which, I laughed out loud, and then I had this, like, epiphany, right? Because my brother and I, we used to make fun of that together. And I don't remember a single thing about this episode, but when he did that, "Hello, anybody up there?" when he was jiggling his lips,
yeah,
I remember doing that with my brother, like,
wow,
just laughing about it. Isn't that weird?
Just jogged your memory of that very specific moment.
Yeah, it's crazy. Greg begins assaulting Jam, who's like, "Come on, Greg, it was just a goof." And Dee Dee looks off into the distance, and we're shown a fog-covered street with a car pulling up, and Dee Dee tells Greg to look as the car comes closer. And this car is very slow, just like everything else.
Yeah.
Super slow.
And Greg says, "It's a car."
Yeah, well, Jam says a couple times that he doesn't know who it is, but it turns out to be a classic 1955 Chevy, which just slowly makes its way over to the kids. And Dee Dee walks a little closer to it, and she takes her hair out of the ponytail, as she kind of just like sways back and forth for a moment, and then she walks closer to the car, and Greg says, "Dee Dee, what are you doing?" And she twirls around like 3 times because she's in this just gorgeous prom dress, and she starts explaining that she knew they were going to be the ones from the moment she saw them.
"You see, I couldn't leave the cemetery unless someone brought me with them. And then you solved the mystery of why Ricky never picked me up and got him to come."
Ricky's just sitting in this car smiling as Dee Dee, or I guess we should call her Judy now, makes her way to the passenger seat and gets in. Greg stares on at her. God, he looks like he just got his heart broken in half. Like, I mean, I guess he kind of did.
He thought he was going to get some.
Yeah, he did. And he doesn't.
No, he really doesn't.
Unless him and Jam get it on later.
Yeah.
Judy's saying that she's got to go now. Her ride's finally here. When she says that, she looks over at Ricky with this, like, about fucking time kind of look on her face. And Greg's still stunned about all this, saying, like, "Dee Dee? Is that... who... what?" And she says, "Oh, Dee Dee's my nickname. My real name's Judy." She's like, "Thanks, guys. I'll never forget you." And Ricky grabs Judy's hand, and he gives it a smooch. It's just rubbing it in Greg's face. And the car rolls out of the cemetery, and they ghost right through the closed gate, and that's the end of the tale.
It's a really terrible looking effect when they drive through the gate.
I thought that too.
As they were driving up to the gate, I'm like, oh, they're going to drive through the gate. They're going to drive through it. I know it. And then it happened, and I was like, ooh, that looks like garbage.
I thought the same thing.
I also thought Ricky was a bit of a douche. He didn't say anything that whole time.
He didn't even thank these kids.
Yeah, it's like, dude, we got your girlfriend back. You guys could be together for all eternity or whatever, but yeah, don't say anything.
No. Back at the Midnight Society, the camera slowly pans up Kristen, and she slowly unveils her face, and she says, "The end." And the kids all look around for a split second before Gary says, "Okay, meeting's over," and he dumps the water on the fire, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. Questions?
Okay. Yeah, you go first, because I have one too.
What the hell? Judy is just hanging out in the cemetery, putting flowers by... Is it her grave?
I assume it's her grave, yeah.
Okay, she's putting flowers by her grave.
Or maybe it's Ricky's. I mean, I guess they never exhumed the body.
She seemed surprised that Ricky died too. When they were looking at the microfilm, she was like, oh, fuck, he died too?
Yeah, okay. So that probably is her own grave then, yeah.
Where did she get, like, the modern 1990s clothes that she's wearing? Can she just, like...
I don't know. That's a good point.
Sailor Moon transform into whatever clothes she wants to trick people into taking her out of the cemetery?
She just updates every year.
Yeah, was she wearing bell-bottoms in the 70s? Like, hey, guys, you want to look for ghosts? And they were like, no, thanks.
That would be the most logical explanation, I guess. It's not logical whatsoever.
No, but... I don't really get it.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that one.
Like the whole tale of the ghost was that she shows up on prom night wearing the prom dress, and it's like, oh, okay, I see. It's like replaying what happened back then. But no, she's just this ghost who can like walk around and talk to people and change her clothes and just go out and have ice cream and, egg creams.
She can be touched, too.
She can flirt with boys and hold seances. It's like, are you really even a ghost at that point? You're just like a person. Just like go home, watch some TV, like live your life.
Okay, so here's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
She probably did try to get people to help her in her prom dress, but obviously people connected the dots and were like, oh, that's a fucking ghost. I ain't helping that shit. I'm running. So after like years of just not working, then she was like, all right, I gotta change this up. I gotta conjure up some new fucking clothes. Maybe she went and like stole the clothes off of a corpse that was wearing that stuff.
Ugh. I mean, it's probably better than her bloody prom dress, but yeah.
Yeah, right? Also, I mean, nobody would ever get buried in like normal clothing like that. But for story's sake, that's what she did. She stole the clothes from a corpse, put them on, and then it worked this time. Do you have any other questions before I ask mine?
No, go ahead.
So another plot hole that I was wondering about is that at the end of the episode, she says she couldn't leave the cemetery unless she got invited by them out, right?
Right.
So the first part of the episode happens on Friday during the day. That's when they're in the cemetery. That's when they have their ice cream social. What does she do after they leave the ice cream social? Because they don't come back until the nighttime to go to that bridge. And if she can't go anywhere unless she's invited, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless she's like, I'm invited. I'm free to do whatever I want. I can haunt anywhere now. That's what I wondered. I was like, what did you do in the time between when you said, oh, let's meet back up here tonight, and then when you met back up there tonight? Where were you doing?
Seems like she could just do whatever the fuck she wanted.
Yeah, right? And also, where did she sleep or whatever? Did she go back to the cemetery and hang out by her grave for Friday night into Saturday morning? I don't know.
So did you see the plot twist coming?
You know what my thought is that Greg was Ricky too, and that he just didn't know it.
You know, I thought Jam was Ricky.
Really?
I don't know why. I was just
That's
like,
weird.
Oh, her douchebag boyfriend. Well, this guy's a douchebag. He's the ghost and he doesn't know it. But then I immediately was like, oh no, it's her.
Yeah, I knew like right off the bat that she was going to be the ghost.
Yeah.
I think I knew, I don't know if it was before or like right after she met the boys, but yeah, I knew she was going to be the ghost.
When she was like, oh, I used to live here, but I'm just visiting. I'm like, oh, because you're a ghost. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought it too, I think. Yep. But yeah, I thought Greg was going to turn out to either be Ricky or get possessed by Ricky or something. And then I was like, well, no, because Jam has been like friends with him, I guess, for what seems like forever. So
it wasn't Ricky. He just got cock-blocked by Ricky.
Sure as fuck did. Yeah, Ricky was a douchebag. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
He's just like, peace, motherfucker. Let's go, Dee Dee.
Let's go, baby.
And it just makes out with her in front of Greg just to rub it in.
Yep. Like, Greg looks up in the sky and all he ever sees is Dee Dee and Ricky just smooching. But overall, I thought, like I said in the beginning, it was an alright episode. It was probably, like, middle of the road for me. It wasn't boring, but I thought it was fun to watch, I guess.
Yeah. I liked the characters well enough. Like, I didn't like Jam. Like, he's a douche, but it was entertaining to watch him. And I like Dee Dee. Greg's kind of a wet blanket the whole episode. But
yep, I think you covered that like perfectly. And that old woman, she was like,
man, she just had some dope fucking.
She stole
tea.
the show. Yeah, she was making that bomb ass tea.
She was brewing those mystic vapors. Like, hey.
So the Tale of the Prom Queen, I think it was named pretty well. But do you think there's some other names that we could give this one?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
Tale of the Ice Cream Social.
Tale of the Telegraphed Plot Twist.
Oh, yeah, right? Tale of the Stolen Tale.
Tale of the Lonely Greg.
Tale of the Douchebag Boyfriend.
That's almost every episode.
Tale of the Old Woman's Tea.
Oh, that was going to be my next one.
Tale of the Bubbles.
Tale of the Flammable Costume.
Oh, that would be like the overall.
Yeah, she's telling the story of her own death.
Oh, man. The next episode is the season 1 finale already.
Jeez. So soon.
I know. The next episode, though, is called The Tale of the Pinball Wizard. Who do you think tells this story?
Pinball Wizard? Really?
Yeah, right?
Isn't that a song?
Oh, is it? I don't know. Let me go look.
By The Who, I think?
Yeah, The Who, Pinball Wizard. Yep, you're right.
Okay.
Who do you think tells the tale of the Pinball Wizard?
This sounds like a Frank.
A Frank story?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what do you think the tale of the Pinball Wizard's going to be about?
Well, a wizard is similar to a sorcerer, so I'm going to say
sure.
that Goth is finally coming back. He's managed to lure another high schooler to an arcade.
Okay.
And somebody hits a ball into the special Mystic Vapors pinball table. And he's like, ha, I'm back. And then the guy like hits the flipper and gets a high score. And he's like, oh, shit. Oh. That's spoilers for the whole episode. So sorry if you haven't seen it.
Okay. Yeah, I hope that is exactly what it is. I remember this episode quite well, so I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be amazing.
All right, keen.
Oh, shut up. Oh, but man, I've been up all night, man. I'm so tired.
I am sick and tired of talking to you.
It's understandable. Sorry you're sick. I'm going to go get some rest.
Yeah.
I'm super tired.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. I'll talk to you in a week.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, we're just having a goof.